Hello everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast is part of a Labostix International. This audio podcast is part of a Sonar and Critical. This audio podcast is part of an Interstellar and Rampage. This audio podcast as part of a Storm Labostix production. Through this audio podcast today, so without going into too much detail and around the methodology, the sort of aspects pertaining to the methodology in this audio podcast today, I look at sort of a brief, a sort of a brief or a brief in around the methodology of projected of in around projected works, looking at in around look at coping in young people with chronic kidney disease and other conditions. So the investigation will look to implement or have an implementation of again what's referred to as mixed methodology, so quantitative and qualitative data collection methodologies in order to attain an in-depth understanding of coping in children and young people with chronic kidney disease and other and other conditions, in addition to young healthy people and parents and guardians collecting data or collating data at several time points up to between 18 to 24 months 18 to 24 months. And as part of the quantitative methodology, as part of the quantitative methodology, uh, the the projected aspect is to would be to have all young people, all children and young people to be invited or to participate to complete a survey, a validated survey referred to as the Ways of Coping, abbreviated as the Ways. The questionnaire, the survey, was originally formed by Folkman and Lazarus in around 1984. And the idea, the basis is to again collate data to collate data from children and young people to complete children and young people both in amongst cohorts that are with CKD and other conditions, and young healthy people at several time points, and to have at least up to 100 children and young people be invited to complete a paper or online version of the validated survey. And as part of the qualitative would be to have participants to have participants invited to be involved in either one-to-one face-to-face interviews, and or telephone or online interviews for up to at least between 30 minutes or 40 minutes, and depending on how children and young people depending on how children and young people would or would or can participate. Implementing what's referred to as a sort of semi-structured question interviews on themes surrounding coping. All participants to be invited to partake at different time points to attain perspectives on coping strategies. As part of the more sort of in-depth basis of this projected work, there is a basis in what would be the sort of inclusion and exclusion criteria in context of cohorts. So that draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast is part of Labostix International. This audio podcast is Sonar Critical. This audio podcast is part of an Interstellar and Rampage. And this audio podcast is part of a Storm Labostix production.